Welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another video. Today what we are doing is we are riding the Ritchey Outback with road tires, basically road rims, as in they're not like super wide for 50 millimeter gravel tires. We're gonna go to La Jolla to a climb over there called Mount Soledad. Super scenic, and because we're riding the Outback, we want to see how it does on climbing. Now, first impressions. The 48-31 chain rings, because I'm running a 2x, that is a significant change between big ring and little ring, because that's 17 teeth. Obviously that's easy math to figure out, but what does it mean in application, like when you're actually riding the bike? It's a pretty drastic change, which is a good thing if you need it. It's a bad thing if you're not expecting it. So for example, for about 3 weeks or so, maybe longer, I've been riding my Boltecchia, which has a 54-40 chainring combination. So that's only 14 teeth. So the first couple of shifts I did this morning on this bike were dramatic between the big ring and the little ring. Second thing, it's a lot heavier, slower reacting. I mean, nowhere near as nimble Road Logic. So I'm going to switch the camera around. Yeah, it's just heavier, sluggish on the road. On the other hand, on gravel, depending on the type of gravel riding you're doing, that might be welcomed. Head to angle, wheelbase, those kinds of things. Well, hopefully you can see the view behind me, and this is Mount Soledad, and they've got a Veterans Memorial here, and so I'll try to take some B-roll, but you go around all the walls and you get to see some of the veterans from the local area that have passed away in combat or missing in action. So there's also a POW MIA flag that hopefully will get in the shot So earlier I talked about how I was taking some real food on the ride today. So I've got it wrapped here in aluminum foil, and it's a potato, and hopefully you can see the salt crystals on there. And I've got a olive oil spritzer at home, so I took some olive oil so I'd have a binder, and then put the salt on there so it would stick. And then of course it's inside a wrapper, so really nice to have something like this. I'm 58 miles into my ride. I've only got about 3,000 feet. I was on the bike path to get here, so that's 8-ish flat miles, and I was on PCH, so another 25 or so flat miles to get here. So a good portion of this ride just hasn't had much climbing. But it's a very popular spot, and there's a lot of tourists here. So what I'm going to do next is just kind of take you for a ride around the access road. I might even I'll walk up and show you some of these memorials, because it's, we have to make sure that we remember those who have died for, freedom isn't free. So there is a cost. And some people have paid with the highest price. Ultimate sacrifice, as it said. So I'm going to have a few more bites of this. In the previous video, I also showed that I cut the potato up into different sizes. And that's because I can choose how much calories I need at the time. Or if I'm climbing about to summit and I just want a small portion, I just unwrap it, throw it in my mouth, one shot, no bites. So different sizes. Think about that when you're setting up your nutrition. I typically will have different gels that have different calorie. So like an e-gel has 150, like a Cliff has like 80, so that's almost double. So you kind of choose in between which one you need. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little tour, and then we got to get back on the road because it's already after 1 o'clock, and we have early sunsets now, so I got to get back. That's where I just was. It's a nice view. I'll check what altitude is up here. It's not that high, maybe 1,000 feet, not sure. But so of course I was in the Marine Corps, so I always look for, like this guy here, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines. That's also the way our logos, our emblems for our platoon, for our air squadrons or ground units. But of course, anyone and everyone. Here you got a lieutenant colonel. Served his country with pride. So yeah, unfortunately, they're all around here. Oh, that's the plane I used to work on. That's called an EA-6B. So I worked on 3 different planes when I was in the Marine Corps, so that's one of them. That's called an EA-6B, and that's called a football. And that right there, that's an electronic countermeasures pod. So that's what this plane does, electronic countermeasures. In other words, it blocks radar and just wreaks havoc on the enemy's early warning systems and things like that. So yeah, just unfortunately too many on this wall. And And there's, of course, the Pacific Ocean, coastal waters. All right. So there it is. Across. This is the highest point in this area anyway. But we're gonna get back on the bike. I need to check the time because it's gonna get late. If you're watching at home, maybe pause the video and just take a moment for silence and respect and honor for the fallen heroes. If you're from another country, I'm sure you've had some heroes that have fallen to combat. So, I don't know, maybe pause the video and take 10 seconds to think about them, minimum, and then take as long as you'd like. All right, gotta get back on the road. I will observe the silence as I get back on. All right, let's see if we can wrap this up. So, as I mentioned in an earlier clip, first impressions, the bike felt heavy. Now, I'm a reformed weight weenie. I mean, I used to have Cervelos down to 14 pounds or something like that. I'll see if I can find something on my Flickr account. But this was a tangible thing. So I weighed the two bikes without any bags, toolkits, computer mounts, or anything. Just pedals and bottle cages. And the Outback was 22 pounds. And my Road Logic was sub 17. But let's round it up to 17 pounds. And so that's basically 5-pound difference, or 2 kilos, something like that, right? So that's very tangible. The other thing was the head tube angle and wheelbase. When I mentioned the bike felt sluggish, also a very tangible thing. If you rely on the data from the geometry chart, you would look at it and be like, I'm not going to ride that as a road bike. You know, a 70-degree head tube angle, 70 and some change, and the wheelbase. So we're talking about 2.5-degree difference in the head tube angle. Steeper the head tube angle, the more quicker steering, if you will. And the wheelbase, 7.4 centimeters longer. I mean, this is a big, big difference between these two bikes. So again, very tangible. As soon as I would get up out of the saddle, and there's a lot of rolling terrain in the last like 6 miles of my first 6 miles, and then the last 6 miles. You know, it's about 700 feet of climbing, up, down, up, down, up, down. And some of those pitches, I could just feel the bike just was so, it was just sluggish, right? All right, number 2. I also felt like a lot more effort. Now, I was riding pretty much the same wattage, trying to hold the same wattage, and it just felt like it was just so much extra work to get that power through the frame. Keep in mind, these bikes are designed differently for different purposes, so, you know, always keep that in mind. My legs felt trashed after 6 hours. In fact, I turned back early. I only did 90 miles. I had scheduled to do 100 miles, and I just didn't do it because I was like, oh, I'm done. My legs feel trashed. So that was that. Soledad Mountain Road, which there's a graphic in the video. It doesn't gain much total, but when it ramps, and there's, I think the second or third ramp is, you know, 8-ish, 9-ish, 10%, and you could just feel it on the bike. 6% or less, like when I went up Torrey Pines, yeah, you could feel the heft of the bike, but it wasn't that bad. So, yeah. So here's the thing. these are two bikes, the Road Logic and the Outback, two bikes that I was comparing unfairly, I might add, to each other. The Road Logic is the perfect road bike. The Outback is the perfect gravel bike. I guess that's the only way to say it. You can't make one do the other any better. So the Road Logic can ride some gravel, 30 to 32 tire, depending on your brake caliper, while the Outback, slacker head tube angle, longer chainstay, longer wheelbase, 48 mil tire clearance. A much better bike for graveling than it is for road, right? So we've got to keep these two things separate. And you might want to look at the Swiss Cross. If you're trying to find the one bike that does it all, you know, which of course, like jack of all trades, you're a master of none. And this is the thing that if you're looking for something closer to your road bike, then get the Swiss Cross, because the Swiss Cross is much closer to a road bike than it is to a gravel bike when you look at an Outback. The Swiss Cross is kind of like everybody else's gravel bike, which is a gravel bike based on road geometry. So Tom Ritchey just said, no, we want an exclusive gravel bike, and so we'll make the Outback to do that very, very well. So Swiss Cross, for someone coming off of road geometry, that'd probably be a little bit better for you. You put your tire size, larger tire size in there, you get your disc brakes, you get all that stuff, and then you could also put road wheels and road tires on it. All right. Lastly, we need to stop thinking that we need these massive tires on road bikes. If you are riding a steel bike, the ride quality is already there. You do not need 35, 38 millimeter tires to get a good ride out of your bike. I ride a Road Logic rim. I'm still thinking about getting a Road Logic disc just because, right? It would save me the headache of trying to find rim brake componentry. But honestly, the need for these massive tires, it may just be where I'm living. That roads are pristine, 28 to 30, even 32 tires are fantastic. I don't need a 35 mil. If I ride some light gravel, I can still ride it on my 30, 32 tires, even 28s. So I want people to stop thinking that they need to have these massive volume tires to do everything with your road bike. Unfortunately, that's the way the carbon world is going. Road bikes are coming now with the capability of 35 and 38 mil, I guess, for, I forget which one it was, the Trek Madone or something, but there's many models anyway. Anyway, those are my closing thoughts. I'd like to hear your opinions down below. And I don't expect everyone to agree with me, but let's have a civil discussion down below. All right, let me leave you with these videos. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.